Hey everybody, this is Kyle, your boy Kyle, aka Vulcan Wolverine, aka Vulcan Wolverine 2. It is July 2nd, 2019. Stardate 4:20 a.m. 4:20 a.m. guys. I just woke up like an hour ago. I'm on a just really weird sleeping schedule. I have some very, very important news to go over from the Directed Energy Summit 2019. Showed on one of my other videos some presentations from 2018. I thought they were from 2019, but found a lot of very interesting 2019 presentations at the Directed Energy Summit. Presented by Booz Allen Hamilton, but for all contractors, universities, hospitals, military, DoD and everything like that, not just for Booz Allen Hamilton people. I'm really tired. Did want to mention, I'm going to eat a pickle. Eat a pickle real quick. Welcome anybody coming in the chat. I know it's like really early, but I still wanted to do a live stream just for targeted individuals who couldn't sleep. Maybe have a weird sleep schedule like me. So I'm going to open up my chat room on my tablet. And so I can chat with you guys. But I'm gonna try and kind of keep it quick because it's kind of a lot of information. It's a presentation. The presentation's like 30 minutes long, and I do want to go through the whole thing because he says some very, very, very key things that really just prove, that these non-consensual human experimentation programs within directed energy weapon programs are going on. Before I get to it, I kind of wanted to. I saw the new Spider-Man movie last night, and incredibly on the nose, like incredibly on the nose. If you like Spider-Man and you're a targeted individual, see that movie. If you do not like Spider-Man that much and you're really not interested in that sort of thing, but you are a targeted individual, see that movie. It's incredible, and I don't really want to give away any spoilers. I know probably a lot of you don't care, but I might wait a week before I talk about. I'm going to talk about that movie because the villain in the movie uses false flagging, deception, illusion, mind control to look like a hero, and then he's really a villain and hurts people using the Hegelian dialectic. It's incredible. And it makes me kind of like, I know we talk about Hollywood a lot and how they're putting like bad stuff, bad propaganda, bad predictive programming in it. This one, I kind of, with the new Spider-Man movie, I'm like questioning, are there some good people within Hollywood, within these creative departments, these production departments, the directors, the writers and everything that are maybe trying to get out some of these dangers in society? With the fantasy, trying to get out some, and you'll see, like, if you see this movie, it's just like, I was just like, oh my gosh, wow, that is like a definite metaphor, for the military industrial complex for like a lot of what we're going through. And I'm like, usually if I see something and I'm like, man, wow, that's really applicable. Like Lord of the Rings is kind of applicable to everybody. I realize that a lot of people are probably connecting with that thing. Incredible, guys. Y'all have to see that movie. Like, some of the comedy was kind of corny and stuff, but I love Spider-Man. It was just very, very on the nose about like one of the biggest problems that we have in society. Obviously, targeted individuals are talking about it. People acting like they're heroes, but they're really killing people. They're torturing citizens and stuff. But then it's like, oh, they're the military industrial complex. They keep us safe. Doing false flags, creating bad events, and then acting like they're the heroes cleaning it up when they create the whole thing anyway. Really on the nose. It was incredible. Just incredible how they did that. But let me go ahead and get to the information. Hey, Future Knowledge, man. So you're up really late too, or really early. I don't know. I guess it's like really early. And hey, Carrie Mary. Yeah, I'm on a definite, like, usually I'll wake up late at night. Like I'll wake up at like 8 at night and then stay up all night and go to sleep like in the morning at like 10 o'clock or something. But my attackers, like, I was listening to this kind of positive NLP, like a positive hypnosis on YouTube. And so I think it was kind of cutting into the NLP my attackers were doing. So they woke me up early. They only let me sleep 4 hours, like when I would usually sleep in the morning. So I woke up, stayed up throughout the day, and then went back to sleep. I'll show you all that on another video, but that's also really important. Hey, Henry Eberhardt. YouTube says to T is the beginning, is in the beginning. Mind your privacy. What is that? Some kind of sick joke? I don't really I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sure it's important though. YouTube says to T is in the beginning. Mind your privacy. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Carrie Mary says I was targeted yesterday all day. UK not got to bed late, then woke up early. Yeah. Yeah, I'm being targeted all the time too. Finding some things that are really good. I do want to show y'all one thing before I start, guys. And I know probably won't be a lot of people in chat because it's really late, but I just wanted to, for people who, were up and just, were bored and being targeted at the same time. It's like, that's one of the biggest things for me. It's like, this is not only torturous psychologically, physically, and everything like that, but it's also very boring. I'm in a holding pattern, of isolating myself, trying to keep my mind busy so I don't go crazy from the V2K. I need to break out of that. So even though I'm feeling pain and being targeted, I got to clean my place up. I got to try and go do some stuff, even if there's gang stalking. I've gotten into this holding pattern where it's just so boring and it's horrible and it's wearing me down. And I'm holding my own with defenses and stuff, but y'all know what I mean. It's like it wears you down, then you're isolated, so it's also like you're being murdered and it's really boring. So that's one of the problems we have to deal. I do want to show you all this real quick, guys. And I really hope y'all are all making it. I hope y'all are staying strong. Something that I saw today. Check this out. I'm looking at these carbon fiber helmets. And carbon is a good material. Like I use Velostat in between a blanket to actually cover my body. And carbon-based materials are very good at defending from heat, thermal energy, and that's what these microwave frequencies are using thermal energy. That's what's like cooking us or hurting our muscles and stuff like that, hurting our nervous system. So I was just looking at these hats. They're kind of expensive, but they're carbon fiber hats. And I think I can't really get one right now because I don't have the money. But I just wanted to show you all this. I'll do another video, maybe going more in depth and what I think about it. Or if I get one, I'll definitely let y'all know. But I just wanted to show you all that. And then I was like, well, you can get a hat, but you're still going to have, the produced electrical fields like around your head, around your ears and stuff that can get through. So I was like, well, maybe a helmet would be better. But these helmets are like $700. So what I was thinking that the hard hat could protect from is like any kind of external microwave hits that are hitting the head, or like the bidirectional stream of energy. I don't know if they can make it come up underneath, to your head, if they can curve that beam. But it seems like it would be worth a try. Some of the, I mean, look at this like $20 one or something. I'd maybe try one of the cheaper ones first. All right, let me get to the information, guys, because it's kind of a long presentation. So this is from the 2019 Directed Energy Summit, and it's hosted. This thing is hosted by Booz Allen Hamilton, but it's really for all contractors and anybody in the military who's going to be working on this stuff with these programs. I'm sure a lot of people from universities and hospitals also go to it. Now, y'all know. They're not going to come out and say like, oh, we're you know, we're experimenting on human beings non-consensually, but this guy gets very, 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 very close. So it's this is the presentation is from non-lethal to air defense, the Marine Corps and directed energy. Speaker is Colonel Kevin Murray, Director of Science and Technology and Rapid Capabilities Office at Marine Corps Warfighting Lab, U.S. Marine Corps. So let's just start watching it, and I'll stop it when he says something, you know, that I think I need to go more in depth on. But it's you know, a lot of the presentations, they stay very, very straight edge. They talk about like the unclassified uses of directed energy weapons, things like, you know, placing lasers on warships, you know, that sort of thing that the public can digest, that they're not going to get in trouble for. But I think that it's ultra deceptive. It's the most deceptive thing, because the people that they're getting to invest in it, and they're getting money from Congress, a lot of these people don't know that they're doing non-consensual torture, you know, to us, to target individuals like us. Also, one thing that I've really seen from these presentations and this directed energy summit is there's a lot of protocols. You know, the Marine Corps really wants you know, a lot of like, how do these weapons, and he'll talk about it. He'll talk about the non-lethal weapons or anti-personnel weapons. They use all these kind of PC words that soften what they're really doing. But you might have like, you know, the Marine Corps that's looking for this certain thing. How do these weapons affect the eyes and the skin and stuff like that? But then you might have, you know, you have the CIA that's like, well, we want to know how neuro weapons affect a person and stuff like that. So you have all these different protocols, and depending on what kind of contractor is attacking you, very, very different things could be happening. All with directed energy weapons, right? But I've kind of seen, I won't go into it too much, but like a lot of targeted individuals, like if somebody's maybe not going through as intense torture as they are, they get very suspicious of that person. They're like, I don't see them being targeted physically, but there probably are, guys. I just want to tell y'all, because I'm like a target that, well, I'm not a target. I'm a survivor of this non-consensual human experimentation that gets hardcore torture, right? I get the whole package, the neuro weapons, the V2K, the burning of my body, my skin, you know, the destruction of my nervous system. But there, you have to know that there are people out there, targeted individuals out there, and this is a hypothesis. We've got to learn more about what everybody's going through. But my hypothesis right now is there are some targeted individuals out there that, you know, they're just getting remote neural monitored, maybe remote neural manipulated a little bit. They're not feeling any pain or high-pitched noise in their ears, and they're getting gang stalked. But so they don't really understand a lot of the intense pain, or we may see them and say, oh, well, you know, I don't think they're a target individual. So target individuals need to keep that in mind. Keep that bottom line in mind, that there are so many different protocols. And there's a lot of us that are just getting the full package. I think, you know, we got a big percentage of us because we're in so much pain, we can't live our life at all, hardly. So we have to come and speak out and try and get on conference calls, and, you know, watch videos and get in chat rooms and stuff like that. But it's just keep it in mind. And, you know, I don't know everything about all the protocols, but that's in Matthew Choi said something about it too. He was like, you know, they're doing all these different contractors are trying to figure out different things. They're testing these weapons for different things on people. And it's also done, that's one angle, you know, just to get what the research that they need, I guess. But another angle of it is to make it confusing, because when we get into a group of all targeted individuals, right, we're all being targeted by either these weapon systems or biochemicals or anything like that. But to make it different enough so that we maybe don't understand each other, like where it's like, oh, well, I'm not experiencing that and you're experiencing that. Well, that's not, you know, so it's done on purpose to kind of keep confusion in the group. So just remember that, guys. So let's go ahead and start on this. So this is what's his name again? Colonel Kevin Murray. This is guys. He says some stuff. The other ones, they watch their mouths. You know, they're very careful in what they say. but this guy really does go into the testing on human beings. Oh, and I want to make it. Oh man, okay, there we go. So let's get started watching this. It's not, yeah, yes. Hey, Autumn, you're up too.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's a different. Well, it's different time where you are.
Speak on behalf of General Nella, the Commandant of the Marine Corps, on the Marine Corps' directed energy efforts as we move forward. First and foremost, about where we stand as a Marine Corps with regards to directed energy. The Marine Corps is a small service as compared to the other larger services, and therefore we don't have the big dollars that the other services have in order to invest in the basic and applied research required to bring this technology along. So we have a more practical and pragmatic approach to how we go forward with directed energy. And really what we do is we leverage those big investments of the other services, the BA2, BA3, or the basic and applied research efforts. We take the fruit off the trees as we see it and how it can practically apply to the Marine Corps. And then we look to rapidly prototype that and put that in the fleet. And because we're small, we like to think we're agile. It's not always that way. There's bureaucracy in every level of the Department of Defense, but we are smaller, and therefore I have the incredible honor of being both the S&T director for the Marine Corps and the Rapid Capabilities Office director. And between the two, there's a big yellow arrow on the floor in our building that allows me to take those things out of S&T, those things that are technology readiness level about 7, and then rapidly get them out to the fleet. And I will shamelessly steal Paul Shore's quote from the Center of New American Studies, and when he says that it is not he who has the technology first that's going to win the next conflict. It's he who figures out how to use it. And so as we go through this portfolio, I'll talk about where we are across the range of military operations with directed energy. We'll keep it at the unclassified level, obviously, and then...
so let me stop it there. Okay, so, and he says some pretty effing bold things in the unclassified portion. I mean, he's taught, like, and y'all will see, he talks about experimenting with how this affects the human eyes, human skin, the human body. He talks about that, but remember, when he's talking, he's only talking about stuff that is unclassified. And so it's like the unclassified stuff is, wow, some of that testing on human beings is let out, but we've got to realize, and I think we all do, targeted individuals realize what they're doing to us is extremely classified. Like, this guy may not even know, like, some of these people giving these presentations, they may be working on directed energy weapons and stuff like that, but there may be a super classified compartment within these contractors that actually carry out, our torture. So just keep that in mind. I don't know. I know sometimes we talk about that, like, do all these people know that humans are being experimented on? We've just got to realize that this stuff is so compartmentalized. Some people that work at some of these contractors may not even know that they're testing them on human beings. Because they keep that super compartmentalized and classified. I kind of think that the chance of that is very hopeful, because if we can decompartmentalize it ourselves and tell people the whole range of things that's happening with these weapons and how they're being, treason and terrorism is being carried out with them, then some of these people who maybe would work for these contractors would come out, they would maybe at the very least quit, or maybe come out and call it out, call out what they know about it. Hopefully. It's a naive thought, but just remember, like, what's happening to us is, like, extremely classified, even amongst people who work with directed energy weapon systems. They get certain people that have the certain clearances to know about what's happening with us and to do it to us. So that's kind of a hurdle,
But where we are really focused right now is not just in developing the technology, but taking the technology that's readily available and getting it out there as quickly as possible to learn the TTPs, understand rules of engagement.
So I think TTPs, I don't know if any of you guys know that in chat. I think it's training something protocols, training and testing protocols maybe, but I may be wrong. Anybody who knows what TTP means, put it in chat.
Engagement, understand the policy implications, work through the wickets of getting the policy an approval to employ technologies in directed energy, and then how do we integrate it into our SOPs, into our operating concepts or doctrine.
So I don't know what SOP is. A standard operating procedures. Okay.
And our concepts. So with that in mind, we'll move forward. If I can figure out the buttons. This is marine proof, by the way. Let's start first and expand the aperture. So we talk about lasers and directed energy. We're very focused a lot of times, right, to Star Wars.
He looks so excited. He looks like a good person, actually, which makes me think maybe he doesn't know about all the horrors that are happening on human beings. Maybe he does. But I get very angry when he's showing enthusiasm and he's excited about these directed energy programs, and it's all positive. It's all going to help our country. And like, I was sitting here watching him, get excited and enthusiastic, and my attackers are like shooting V2K at my head. My back is like pulsing with pain, and I can like barely keep my eyes open because my attackers are trying to make me go to sleep while I was watching it. And I'm like, oh, I'm glad this guy's excited. I'm happy that he's happy.
And, I want my megawatt laser gun or my tank with a super laser on the front of it. But really, the Marine Corps has a different mission, really, than the other services. We kind of are a swing force. We work in the middle. We work in the gray zone a lot. And we have to have capabilities in directed energy that allow us to operate across a range of military operations. We have responsibility for protecting our embassies. We protect some of our most important nuclear facilities. We have bases and installations and forward operating bases all over the world with Marines operating day in, day out across the spectrum of conflict. And with that in mind, we have to have those capabilities that allow us to engage in the gray zone and not just engage in a high-end conflict where we're actually trying to kill people. So with that in mind, we own the Joint Non-Lethal Weapons Directorate and the Technology Division, and I'm going to talk about that first and some of those non-kinetic capabilities that we need to have as a service.
And keep this in mind when they say kinetic weapons, because I got this wrong at first, but they say kinetic weapons, they mean like bullets and missiles and everything like that. They say non-kinetic weapons, it's going to be stuff like lasers, directed energy, plasma, laser focused, like plasma changing weapons, plasma affecting weapons and stuff like that. Those would be non-kinetic.
So the non-lethals program was started in 1996, and so this goes back to how long it's taken us to get directed energy stuff out to the fleet and help us use these technologies. This is not new. We've been doing it for a long time. The Commandant of the Marine Corps owns it on behalf of the chairman and the Joint Force, and works directly with a fairly good budget in order to engage across a wide breadth of non-lethal capabilities. But and I will talk to specifically the directed energy portfolio within it. And we're looking to integrate a non-lethal capability within the Marine Corps and within the DoD writ large that allows us to do exactly what I was just saying: protect our bases, protect our installations, protect our forward operating forces, but then engage now as we get into an era of peer conflict. Engage with those peer adversaries in the gray zone where we see them engaging with us right now.
So he's referring, when he says they're working on these non-lethal protocols, right? So he's talking about like how these weapons affect human beings, and he talks about gray areas. He'll tell this story about like a generalization. If there's a big crowd of people, and then you got one of the people stirring everybody up, you got to target that person specifically without targeting anybody else. And y'all have heard me say it's like that's a huge angle with us, that they're working with these weapons to make sure that they're precision hitting their targets, right? I'll stop it when he says some of the worst stuff, because I think these people are completely brainwashed, where they think that it's ethical to torture and experiment on innocent Americans before they use these weapons on their enemies in war. That's a huge thing that I don't see how that happened. I don't see how anybody would believe it. I don't understand that. But there's another thing, and I can't find it on the internet, where the guy maybe if somebody can, Autumn, you're a good researcher and stuff like that. If anybody can find this stuff, or Future Knowledge, or anybody, if y'all can find the part where, I don't remember who said it, but he said the ethical thing to do is to test these weapons on American citizens before they use them on their enemies. But that's like a justification for all these directed energy weapon programs. It's like they're like, well, it's moral if we test them on innocent citizens first. We have to do that because we don't know if they're going to hurt our enemies too badly. I mean, crazy, right? And we live in crazy satanic clown world, so it's not a surprise, but I'm still surprised, right? It shouldn't be a surprise by now how crazy and evil the world is getting. It's just unbelievable that people would go along with that kind of brainwashing.
And you see our other peer nations doing those kind of things to us right now. And we need to have those capabilities to match and equal them without just taking it to what would someone say, phase 2 or phase 3 operations where we're just going kinetic, and that's our only option. We have to give a MAGTF commander or a joint task force commander or a joint maritime component commander the ability to have a whole bunch of tools in his toolbox and to pick the right tool at the right time to engage with the appropriate rules of engagement. So, and I'll get into some of the technologies here as we go through. So, active denial portfolio, non-lethal counter personnel, directed energy technology focused on millimeter wave as a capability. Obviously, as the technology started off really big, back of a truck, giant panels.
Hey, Native. So Native says, wow, perps were just steering dreams and woke me up by strobing a bright light into my room. They must be using a lot of those dazzler effects. Maybe somebody, like one of your neighbors, has some of those ground weapons that they're doing that, or they could be doing it from a drone. But hey, I'm glad you came, Native. I'm glad man, y'all are up all the time, like me. Y'all have a weird schedule like me. Oh yeah, Autumn says, what about Michael Aquino? Peaceful alternative to bombs. Yeah, they try and make this PC and like justified and kind of just twist people's heads into believing like these weapons are so good. But we got to realize with mankind, or at least the people who are, that have the power and stuff right now, they're going to take anything and weaponize it. I mean, people can be peaceful, right? People can be very peaceful and useful, and they're weaponizing people. I mean, they're making people not know what's going on, telling lies about targeted individuals, and making the people who gang stalk very dangerous. So we've got to realize that military industrial complexes of the world can make anything a weapon. They can make anything, and so nothing is non-lethal. Nothing is non-lethal. If you get hit by it for like a minute or an hour or whatever, it's non-lethal. But anything, they can turn anything into the most lethal weapon ever. Yeah. So.
And we've continued to scale it down as the technology, the size of processing, the size of power management, and has continued to come down greatly. Again, force protection, the ability to do perimeter defense, crowd control, some of that stuff in the COIN environment for our embassy Marines, for humanitarian assistance and disaster relief. And we found some of this as a challenge in Haiti. You get crowds, wanting to get food and all that sort of stuff. And you start to see challenges with people just trying to do those kind of things. And we've got to be able to manage that without going just right to kinetics or rubber bullets and things like that. It's just not the right answer. So we're looking for those capabilities as we come across. And these things continue to scale down. A lot of really great efforts because it's fairly mature technology. And also we found with the military.
He said it's very mature technology. So there are a lot of these programs and committees that come out and they say, well, we've only been using directed energy weapons since like 1990 something or 2000 something. But this guy is at least telling the truth. It's a very, very mature technology. These directed energy weapons, like they keep making new prototypes and advancing them, but they've been around since, microwave hearing has at least been around since the 1970s. And then a lot of these techniques of hitting people with like long range microwaves and things like that, and long range radar, they've been around since like the 1950s. So very, very mature technology. It's been going on for a long time.
millimeter wave, that there's some supporting capabilities that have helped us in this regard in terms of being able to see through walls, being able to do radar kind of capabilities with millimeter wave, as well as looking at an individual in a crowd and being able to see if they've got a weapon on them underneath a robe or something like that. So active dial technology as we're moving forward. And then I'm sure you've heard a lot of other conversations already, and some of the speeches or some of the videos and speeches where we talked about high power microwave. And we see this as the most mature technology right now in directed energy, allowing us to rapidly field capabilities out to the fleet. And one of those is the vehicle vessel stopping portfolio within the Joint Non-Lethal effort, designed to get after those small boat threats, disrupt their engines, disrupt their electronics. Everything's got electronics in it, right? So if I can get in there and I can fry that equipment, then I can cause that swarm of small boats to not affect us. And us as an amphibious force, our ship-to-shore maneuver, our ability to now project over a really long range and long distance, and the threat's ability to counter us in that regard, or just transiting, 90% of the world. Logistics has moved over the ocean, and we've got some serious choke points around the globe. And if the threat then focuses small, cheap, expendable kind of capabilities in that area, we have a significant problem. And I'll get to the math problem and talking about missiles versus threats here in a little bit. But really, a non-kinetic way to continue to keep the sea lanes open. Sea lines of communication running, and for us to continue what we need to do without just going again to the kinetic button. One of the other things is Joint Non-Lethals writ large is a joint program, as I said, and it's not just focused on the Marine Corps, the naval problem, obviously across the range of military operations and across the spectrum of the different services. We work closely with the Army and the Air Force and even the Coast Guard in terms of our capabilities that we're developing along the non-lethal environment. One of those efforts is what you see here, and the ability to protect our entry control points within our bases and installations. We've been working closely with the Air Force on this, and it's the same kind of technology, but you see them as you drive onto a base or any government facility these days, is the pop-up panels that'll pop up. Sometimes those are latent, sometimes they don't work. There's just challenges writ large with any kind of technology. So we see it as a defense in depth kind of problem set where we've got Marines or gate guards or contractors who are working that first line of defense right up front. But if they get through that and we see a runner get through, we still have the ability to stop a vehicle. One of the most famous incidents with two Marines with their M4s protect a forward operating base in Iraq, where a big semi-truck came down a fairly long 300-meter stretch before it blew itself up, killing those two Marines. And a really tragic incident. But those two Marines alone saved the lives of hundreds inside that forward operating base. Had we had a vehicle stopping system in place that was out, a couple hundred yards away, that forced that vehicle to drive through that mechanism, and the microwave or other RF-based directed energy system was in place, it would have shut that vehicle down, forced it to stop, and then they could have engaged at a distance and probably would have saved their lives. Laser-induced plasma effects. One of my favorite things as a science and technology director. I could geek out for hours on this stuff, but really, really cool.
It's so exciting. It's so cool. Such a cool thing. This is just exciting stuff. Stop murdering my family. This isn't these people. It's like he must not know. Like I don't know. I mean, because it's like, oh, it's so exciting. We're gonna save lives with all this stuff, and the people that they're killing and torturing with these weapons to advance them, it's just sickening. Like, I don't see. Oh, it's so exciting. It's so annoying. Like, this is so annoying.
For the idea of pulsing a laser device, just turn the laser on, scaling it, dialing it up to 11, and causing a burn, to burn through a target. Instead,
listen to that.
We're seeing a lot of different effects that can come from as we move forward. The idea of pulsing a laser device, just turn the laser on, scaling it, dialing it up to 11, and causing a burn, to burn through a target. Instead, we're seeing a lot of different effects that can come from pulsing the laser and these and the plasma effects you get out of it. On the non-lethal side, really awesome capability to target individuals within a crowd.
Listen to that. Y'all heard what he said, right?
If you will. It's kind of rocked, and the plasma effects you get out of it. On the non-lethal side, really awesome capability to target individuals within a
target individuals within a crowd. You don't hit other people in the crowd. How do they, you know, I know target individuals, you're being tortured with this stuff, so you understand that they're working with these weapons and learning how to precisely just hit you, even if you're around other people and stuff like that. And that's not the only angle that they're doing, but it's like, for non-target individuals, how do you think that they're developing non-lethal, in quotation marks, how do you think they're developing this stuff? Who are they using it on? Like, because they're developing it, they know that it can hit somebody precisely. Who are they doing that on? And then you got targeted individuals talking about it every day, how they're being burned, they're being cooked, they have headaches from this stuff. I mean, the headaches for me are just extreme. They've been extreme for years. Like, where do people think that this experimentation comes from? Where they think that they maybe just tried on one person who volunteers and then they got it down? And this comes from a lot of experimentation, a lot of people tortured for their whole lives. And then they can't just torture us for a little while and then let us go, because then what we say would be, you know, people be like, oh, well, you were tortured by these weapons and now you're not. So they have to keep torturing us for our whole freaking lives, so that we look crazy and they can cover it up. I mean, it's just an obvious one-to-one thing, you know, where they're learning this from. When you have a whole lot of people saying they're being hit by these weapons, I don't see how people would how they would think that they are advancing these weapons if they're not using them on people. And then you got a bunch of people saying, hey, they're using them on me. And yeah, I guess people do believe this. I'm just going to start thinking that, because the only logical thing is that people know that this is going on. Yeah, so.
A crowd that you see is the instigator, if you will, that's kind of riling up the crowd, and you can cause him to have an effect of a flashbang grenade through the engagement of a directed energy.
Listen to that, Native. Did you hear that? Because you just got hit with that tonight. Let me play that again, because he's talking about doing that to somebody in a crowd. What Native was saying just happened to her tonight, like from above her, maybe through her window, like a huge flash of light. I'm gonna play that again.
To target individuals within a crowd that you see as the instigator, if you will.
Let me just play that again, because he's putting those words together.
The laser and the plasma effects you get out of it. On the non-lethal side, really awesome capability to target individuals within a crowd.
Okay, let's play it again. Let's just keep playing that.
We're seeing a lot of different effects that can come from pulsing the laser and the plasma effects you get out of it. On the non-lethal side, really awesome capability to target individuals within a crowd.
Okay, one more time, guys.
Through a target. Instead, we're seeing a lot of different effects that can come from pulsing the laser and the plasma effects you get out of it. On the non-lethal side, really awesome capability to target individuals within a crowd that you see as the instigator, if you will, that's kind of riling up the crowd, and you can cause him to have an effect of a flashbang grenade through the engagement of a directed energy weapon, while not affecting all the other people around him. So you can get 1 or 2 or 3 people within the beam width of that weapon system, and completely non-lethal effect. And so if the guy's riling up the crowd or something like that, you can cause him to go away or have a problem without really affecting the rest of the crowd around him. I think that's one. The thermal effect, and I kind of blew past this as we talked about the different the way the non-lethals actually work, but I've had some of this stuff employed against me in training.
I have too. I've had it used against me, and my family has had it used on them, and it wasn't training. I was just this like innocent citizen living in the United States, and then it's being used on me 24 hours a day. But I don't have as big of a smile as you, because you just had it used on you for a couple of seconds and then you got to move, right? Let's listen to him say.
You get really burning sensation. It feels like having a nasty sunburn. You get a headache. You're like, oh my God, this sucks. And you don't want to be there anymore. And so you move on. And that has an effect.
And you move on. And you just move on. You just move on. Unless they have motion compensating, technologies, hitting your head. These directed energy weapons trained on your body 24 hours a day, where you try and run, but since they're motion compensating, you can't get away, and they just keep cooking the insides of your body. I'm sorry, guys. This guy just makes me upset, because it's like he seems to be he's like in the Marine Corps, and he seems to be more naive than me for some reason.
Non-kinetically as we move forward. But then the Marine Corps got a problem, the ship-to-shore problem, the mine countermeasures problem, counter-IED continues to be a threat across a range of military operations as well for us, and we've got a challenge there as well. So if you can think, an airborne platform able to shoot a laser and pulse it down and with these plasma effects into the ground gives us an ability to counter IEDs, gives us an ability to attack mines. You couple it with robotic and autonomous systems that we're working with to detect the mines in the surf zone, probably not a good example, but detecting like in the sand that we're seeing, and we're able to now search, find the mine, detect the mine, geolocate the mine, and now if we can use this pulse plasma effect on there, we can probably defeat the mine in place, and that counters some of the more exquisite, harder capabilities that we use right now to clear a beach. Dropping a JDAM on a beach is probably a bad idea. It digs a big hole. It takes a while to fill that back in, so we can do a more precise engagement, clear the beach for the Marines to come ashore, and that's very exciting to us. As I've alluded to, high power microwave system technology. We have a whole portfolio of efforts at the unclassified level. We just see that this is the 90% solution in the near term for counter UAS, counter small boats. Area effect, so you get a larger beam width, you get some.
So, I mean, like, he's talking about a lot of stuff, right? He's talking about high-powered microwave. He's talking about dazzlers. He's talking about lasers that can actually move plasma. So that's all unclassified. What would be classified? I mean, because he seems to be covering a lot of stuff. He seems to be covering a whole lot of directed energy weapon stuff, even hitting people with it. So what would be at the classified level?
Much greater range, you get more capability through weather. Some of the other problems we've had with high-powered lasers in that regard, power management seems to be easier, and you can do it in a smaller and smaller form factor, especially as we get away from just big honking dishes and we go to actively scanned arrays or other conformal kind of capabilities that allow us to do more condensed capabilities in a smaller form factor, which really comes down to what we need as a service, which is the ability to be expeditionary from the sea and counter large numbers of threats. So while we've traditionally invested in an integrated air defense system based off of manned platforms, we now see this revolution in military affairs occurring in terms of robotics and autonomous systems. And I'll talk to that in the next part of the presentation as we move forward from ground-based and talk about ground-based air defense and where we're headed as a Marine Corps. But we got to have the ability to counter not just individual missiles or individual things coming at us really fast, but we've got to think about swarms and how the threat is weaponized. Small, very low radar. A DJI Phantom has a really low radar cross section, really hard to find, really hard to see with your Mark 1 Mod 0 eyeball. And you've got to have the ability to find, fix, target, track, engage, assess. And right now we're doing pretty good in the find, fix, target, but then on the engage portion of it, especially in a civilian environment or an urban environment with our bases and installations, shooting a missile, shooting a gun even, we used to have out in Iraq, we had the close.
And see, so he just touched on it right there. The training in urban environments is very important for this. They've got to be able to carry out some of these operations with directed energy weapon systems and lasers and things in highly populated areas. So it's not the only angle with our targeting, but it's something that they're practicing with, so that they can make these more precise and be able to get the target in the area. I just don't understand why they're using completely innocent citizens all around the world. I mean, there has to be a better way than that. Just seems, I guess we all know. I mean, common sense. Just it's very evil. But that's definitely and he talked about scaling down systems too. So it's like even though they have these weapons and they've mass manufactured them, they still want to use them and things like that and see what components they can get rid of, components they can keep to actually scale down these weapons. Because he was talking about, it used to be a huge dish on a truck or something like that, and these things need to be scaled down to size so they can be more maneuverable, take them into more places with them and things like that.
System, taking it ashore. We had them around different bases, and we'd shoot 20mm rounds downrange to shoot down rockets coming into the base. That ain't going to work in Washington, D.C., right? That isn't going to work in an installation like in Iwakuni. That's kind of a no-go because this stuff has to fall somewhere. And so we're really looking at high-power microwave and other directed energy efforts in order to help us alleviate the problems associated with collateral damage. I would be remiss to talk about the Joint Non-Lethals program without talking about power management. Everything with directed energy, I heard a previous speaker talk about the logistics of these things. It really comes down to that. You need somewhere 3 to 4 times the power output in order to form a beam, do everything you need to do, the energy loss associated to get an effect at the range at which you need it to be effective. And therefore, you got to have a lot of energy on the ground or in the air in order to apply that to the weapon system itself in one way, shape, or form. So we've got a lot of work going into scaling that energy capability. Right now, the gas turbine generator, in order to generate several hundred kilowatts of power in an expeditionary form factor, is the #1 line of effort. Of course, thermal management systems and their ability to manage the heat associated with this is a big deal, especially because we like to operate. 90% of the time, we're operating in small wars, and a lot of times that is in a hot, and heavy environment. And in doing so, you already have an ambient temperature that's upwards of in the high 30s or maybe even 40 degrees Celsius, in which case you get big thermal issues associated with it. And then as we get into peer threat, thermal matters, and we're trying to reduce our signature at the same time. So how do we then have the power, manage the power, but manage our IR bloom as a signature in order for it not to be detected and therefore us not to be targeted? I would be remiss to say that we would be remiss not to cover the fact that we are also looking at the moral and ethic implications of employing directed energy.
Okay, now here's where it gets really effing weird, guys. Where he's talking about the moral and ethical implications of it, but he's talking about the moral and ethical implications to the enemies that the military, because we're enemies now. The regular citizen is enemies now. But I'm saying, like, the people, like, they say they go to war in Afghanistan or war in Iran, the people they'd be fighting on the ground, the other side, they're talking about moral and ethical implications for the weapons effects on those people. But then they're torturing and experimenting on innocent citizens. So it doesn't make any sense. So that doesn't make any sense in any language, in any country, in any kind of human sense, that moral and ethical implications would be to make sure that they're not hurting the people they're going to war with by murdering their own citizens and torturing their own citizens. And somebody else said that. If any of you guys can find that, I don't know who said it. It was like a general or something like that. And he said, we need to test, the moral thing to do is to test these weapons out on our own citizens before we use them in war. So it just makes no sense. I guess that's like maybe a lie that they tell these people that use these weapons. Oh, it's the moral thing. I can't even put it into words how insane that is. But let's see what he says.
Closely within the Joint Non-Lethals program. It is not good enough to just say we're going to have a laser weapon out there. It is not good enough to say we're going to employ directed energy without going through the policy, going through those wickets of rules of engagement. And like I said before, we're trying to figure out closely how to use these, not just how to get this technology out to the fleet, and how to do so in a moral and ethical manner. And so
I just want to go ahead and say that's like complete bullshit. Like, even if he doesn't know what's happening to us, what's happening to innocents, it's complete and utter bullshit. They're doing the most immoral stuff with these directed energy weapon systems, and I can't believe that these people can sit up there and just spout that awful nonsense. I can't believe it.
While we're working the dynamic thermal models as well, we are looking directly at what the effects are on people.
We're looking into the effects on people. How if you're testing the weapons out on innocent citizens, how in the hell is that moral? Like, what is in this guy's head? How is he an idiot? Like, I mean, because he seems like he's pretty smart, right? I mean, he's in the Marine Corps. Why, like, we're making sure we're moral about this, so we're testing it out on a bunch of people who have nothing to do with any kind of wars that we're going and fighting in. I mean, we know that's obviously not the truth, right? I mean, there's a huge Cold War where you know, citizens are being murdered, and they're false flagging us as enemies. It just doesn't make any sense. But let's hear that again. We're testing these out on people
in a moral and ethical manner. And so while we're working the dynamic thermal models as well, we are looking directly at what the effects are on people, on eyes, the skin, and tissue issues that go along with that. And there's a full line of experimentation between ONR and the Joint Non-Lethals program.
Full line of experimentation. Let's hear it again. Might go ahead and play this like 3 times, guys. He's saying it right here. There's a full line of experimentation on human beings. Now, this is only an angle because we've got the neuro weapons too. We've got all these different protocols of things that they're trying to do with behavioral control. But this is an angle to see what it does to human beings over long periods of time. So even though I'm getting like the full package or whatever, you guys too, they might be getting some of the data of what this is doing to us over long periods of time, our skin, our eyes, and our things and things like that. But let's hear him say it again, because he just says it. He just says it straight out.
Mostly how to use these, not just how to get this technology out to the fleet, and how to do so in a moral and ethical manner. And so while we're working the dynamic thermal models as well, we are looking directly at what the effects are on people, on eyes, the skin, and tissue issues that go along with that. And there's a full line of experimentation between ONR and the Joint Non-Lethals program in order to understand that, to map it, and to make sure that our TTPs and our ROE reflect appropriately so we use the right system at the right time for the right target, and how to do so in a moral and ethical manner.
Listen to what that's it seems to me that that's like a form of it's a form of psyoping what he's saying, because he's like, oh, we're doing everything in this moral and ethical way, but then he follows it up by like, we're seeing what this does to humans and how it affects the body. So it seems like if he just said that, if he left out, we're trying to do this in a moral and ethical way, and he said, hey, we're testing this out, and there's a lot of experimentation on how this affects the eyes and the skin, people would be like, what, you're testing this on people? But since he said moral and ethical at the beginning, they're like, oh, he must mean something else. Is that how it works? Because I have a hard time understanding all the lies and the evil. Having a very hard time. I mean, I understand it. I don't want to. But let's hear it again.
And so while we're working the dynamic thermal models as well, we are looking directly at what the effects are on people, on eyes, the skin, and tissue issues that go along with that. And there's a full line of experimentation between ONR and the Joint Non-Lethals program.
And there's a lot of armed forces that are you know, testing that angle too. You know, but then you have the neuro weapons too. I'm starting to think, and I'm not sure. This just because Ochsner, the place where I think I got my non-consensual implant, it was very very cooperative with the CIA, and I think that actually the contractors doing this to me are probably contracted out by the CIA or DIA. But many targets, it could be any you know, it could be contractors that are contracted out from the Army, contractors that contracted out from the Air Force, contractors that are contracted out from the Navy, contractors that are contracted out from the Marine Corps, like this guy. So it could be like any of the armed forces under the DoD putting out these contracts, and then these contractors doing the research and collecting the data and torturing you guys and me, you know, for whatever data they're doing, whatever research they're doing, whatever kind of advancements on the weapons they're going for.
In order to understand that, to map it, and to make sure that our TTPs and our ROE reflect appropriately so we use the right system at the right time for the right target, and we do so in a respectable manner.
I mean, he's just putting it out there. I mean, this guy is just saying, yeah, we're experimenting on people. I mean, that's what he said. Who are they experimenting on? Can anybody? And we know the answer to that. I'm being sarcastic. But I mean, can anybody find any kind of voluntary programs where maybe people in the armed forces are volunteering to be hit by these microwave weapons? Even if you could, even if there was a small programs like that, you still have to listen to the targeted individuals who are being tortured in their homes, and all these weapons are being used on them. And remember, guys, because I know sometimes, like when you say something, that's only an angle, right? It wouldn't be the sole reason that we're all being tortured is just to see the effects on our body, right? There's a lot of other things that go along with many other protocols, but it definitely is an angle that some of these protocols are focusing on. I mean, he's just saying it right there. He's just saying it. So a non-target individual that maybe doesn't know about this would have to hear that guy say, yeah, and we're testing this out to see what it does to the eyes and the skin. Then you would have to you probably heard targeted individuals talking about being hit by this weaponry, and you'd have to say, well, these people can't be schizophrenic, because if they were schizophrenic, they imagine something that's really happening and really being done to people. So just, I mean, I just want to kind of say that. I mean, I think it's obvious to everybody, we're being experimented on, targeted individuals are being experimented on. But I'm just really starting to feel like people know that this is happening, and it's either people that completely trust authority and they're like, oh, well, they're picking bad people to do it to, and we have to do this for our country, or it's people who know about it, they know that it's bad, but they just can't do anything about it. I think that we're really moving out of that time period where people really didn't think that this was going on, and these guys are putting it right out there. This guy's putting it out of his mouth. And I don't want to say because I don't know how much this guy knows about the non-consensual human experimentation going on in families. So I don't want to spew a lot of hate, and I am still because he's just talking about this in like this very light way, like it's all good, all good stuff, right? And that's the way they're going to present it. Like if they're ever presenting something like this or showing documents that are unclassified, they're always going to say it's like very necessary for the Army, for the DoD, for the military industrial complex to have these weapons. They're going to, say all those things that make it sound convenient to people and make it sound like it's just going to be taking down drones and missiles and stuff like that. And then they may, like this guy kind of slipped out, right? I guess, I mean, this was part of his presentation. They're using it they're trying to figure out how it works on people. And maybe I guess maybe some people just don't connect that. They're like, oh, well, they would use enemies in another country to test it out, or they would get volunteers or something. But no, they're not. They're not doing that. They don't get volunteers, because the volunteers, after what happens to your body when these weapons torture you for long periods of time, what happens to your brain, the volunteers would sue them for all the money that they had. So they do it non-consensually to their own citizens, all these military industrial complexes of every country, in probably America, the UK, China, Russia. They have allies with smaller countries where they, will do some of this. They have international contractors. So it's not just strictly those smaller countries' military industrial complexes, but yeah, he's just putting it right out there.
So ultimately, the whole intent is to provide that toolbox to a MAGTF or a Joint Force Commander. It's going to allow him to pick the right tool for the right job. And we see huge synergistic effects with integrating non-lethal and lethal capabilities together synergistically. And in doing so, we find ourselves in a position where we're able to engage larger number of targets across the spectrum, and then of course not just have one golden hammer for every nail, which is just to go kinetic. All right, okay. Let's move on to the next subject, and we'll talk about this, and then I'll save questions to the end. Ground-based air defense. Again, I said the Marine Corps is looking at it pragmatically about what we can invest in today and what we can get out there to the fleet as quickly as possible. National Defense Strategy, the Defense Planning Guidance all directs us towards modernization. It directs us towards engaging a peer threat. And we see with the proliferation of technology around the world, and I could give a dozen examples and talk for hours on the different situations that we've seen that are really upending the way we think in terms of how we fight. And how the promulgation of robotics and autonomous systems is really causing us to have some significant pause with our current operating model and recognize that we have potentially overinvested in some of our exquisite capabilities to fight a peer threat at the high end, and that maybe we're underinvested in the capacity that we need in order to engage. And it really comes down to a math problem. You know, we start fighting a peer threat, and they have X number of missiles, and we have Y number of missiles, and they're going to shoot those missiles, and we have to counter those missiles. So you can see that magazine depth becomes an issue very quickly. And so where we're starting is buying down that risk and understanding the TTPs on the ground-based air defense side, which has been traditionally a Marine Corps mission.
Maybe TTPs is training and targeting protocols. It's either training and testing protocols or training and targeting. I don't know. I don't know what TTP means.
To protect our forward operating bases, protect our Marines as the last line of defense, while the Joint Force provides Patriot and Sentinel and some of the larger capabilities. And it's a system of systems approach overall. And we're focused right now on our little niche. We may expand here into the future into the medium range air defense kind of capability, but it can't just be, we can't afford, especially the Marine Corps, can't afford a zillion missiles to go after every $1,000 quadcopter. And then as the threat continues to scale and we start to see swarms, we start to see artificial intelligence, we start to see challenges where we lose control links, and so it's very harder to detect these things and geolocate them in the EM spectrum, where they're just operating autonomously and they've got their own maps and their own ability to sense the environment, and then they can maneuver. And plenty of that technology is already out there today. It's not this is not rocket surgery. And the threat is using it against us. And so we have to be able to scale quickly, and that's where we see directed energy playing a huge part in our ground-based air defense integrated system. The system itself is called MADIS, and it is the MAGTF's Air Defense Integrated System family of systems. So we're not focused on a JLTV with everything on it. Like before, it was a Humvee, and you had a Stinger missile, and you had associated detection equipment, and a couple of Marines associated with that system, and that was it. But now we've got to look across the board, because I go back to the capacity problem. We need to have capacity across the MAGTF and across the range of military operations to include our bases and installations. So there's a MADIS-I for installations. There's the MADIS for on the move, which is to protect convoys and things like that. There's the ground portion of MADIS for forward operating bases, air bases, things like that. And then, of course, if we're going to integrate it, then we need to have an aerial component as well. And this is where we see robotics and autonomous systems coming into play. This is a mature system. It is fielded. It is out there, and we expect to iterate it as the technology continues to emerge. We're not going through, well, JSIDS is JSIDS. We're looking very closely at how we rapidly prototype technology to the fleet, how we learn the TTPs, the ROE, and look to engage it and gain the policy approvals, which we just got for this system in theater, and then how we iterate those capabilities as we move forward. And so MADIS will continue to evolve as a program of record, and it's not just one thing and then we'll buy the next thing 10 to 12 years later. CLAWS as a component of that is our compact laser weapon system that we are employing right now, and we just gained second quarter 19 approval from OSD, the Secretary of Defense, in order to take this and move it forward. Huge issues with taking a laser on the ground and shooting it up in the air, as you can imagine. A near unlimited magazine that points up into space. You got to deconflict a lot of stuff. Airplane, people, satellites. I mean, there's a lot of work that has to go into ensuring that when you employ this, it's not just a ballistic profile of a traditional weapon system where you clear 2 points on the ground and you say you're good to go. So all of that, and then of course the ethical and moral portions of the policy implications for how you employ it and how it fits into the larger ROE is also stuff that we've continued to buy down the risk of, so that as these technologies are ready, we're ready to fit it into our TTPs and our concepts of operations. And then of course we're trying to get it smaller and smaller, but then higher and higher power outage, so you can gauge more and more targets. A 2 kilowatt system is not all that great, but it works really well for small targets right now, where our 90% problem is right now in CENTCOM AOR for ISIS and others using the small UAS against us. And to be honest, our air defense capability, air supremacy, is kind of a challenge right now, because it's hard to engage these small, low radar cross-section capabilities that the threat is throwing at us, because they look at it asymmetrically. They're not going to go buy their variant of an F-35 with a bunch of AMRAAM on it, and they just don't want to do that. our peer threats don't want to do that either. While they are investing in those capabilities, we fully expect that the threat's going to do what we're going to do, which is engage with waves of robotics and autonomous systems in a math game. And missiles, I look at a missile these days and I say, hey, we're going to put smarts in those missiles. Those missiles are robotics and autonomous systems. And they're either autonomous or they're semi-autonomous with a human on the loop or in the loop. And as we scale that,
I just think it's kind of it's bad. It's not good interesting. It's bad interesting that he's talking about like, oh well, they're gonna have robots. We're gonna have robots. They're gonna be autonomous. So and it's gonna be directed energy weapons. And it kind of gives you this picture in your mind of like, a weapon, two factions fighting with directed energy weapons, hitting troops, hitting or sending out robots and drones, and then the directed energy weapons hitting those drones and robots. But it's like, as we go through it, target individuals, I see the greatest war, and I think we all know this. I think this is common sense. The greatest war that's happening is the war of the mind, where they can just use neuro weapons and, completely manipulate the enemy leader to basically, do whatever they want, or, to kill himself and put a leader in that they want. I feel like that's the bigger war there. Which they're not going to hit on it here. They're going to keep people misdirected into thinking, hey, we're going this way. We're going with these unmanned drones and these weapons on naval battleships and things like that. And it's going to be that type of war, when the war is really like it's really perception, targeting the mind of the enemies and things like that. But I don't think that those are all so classified. Those angles to all this directed energy and the protocols and everything, that's really classified. And they just talk about, when they talk about hitting people, like this guy's even talking about hitting people and testing it on people, they won't go into the territory of neuro weapons and what those are doing. But I think that's more the future war than robots fighting.
That we're going to have it can't just be missile versus missile. It can't just be UAV versus UAV. It can't be just system on system. It's going to have to be a system of systems approach that allows us to integrate directed energy systems in order to scale. We need that unlimited magazine or near unlimited magazine that's going to allow us to engage at that level of conflict. In addition, integrated air defense is not just about what's on the ground. You got to get stuff up in the air too. One, it helps your radar horizon. It helps you to see further. And as we've seen with directed energy and
Autumn says tactics, techniques, and procedures, of which each have their own individual definitions. TTP. Okay, tactics, techniques, and procedures. Okay. Yeah, he's saying all these military acronyms, and I have no idea what he's talking about sometimes. I think the only one that I knew was the I can't even remember. One of them I got.
And some of the capabilities that we have right now from the ground, that laser's got to turn. It's got to point at the one thing. It's got to find fixed target.
And thank you, Autumn. Thank you.
Track, and then it's got to be able to form the beam, shoot the beam, engage that target, and then move on. And it's linear. A high power microwave has more of an area effect. It allows you to get a larger beam width. You can get out a little bit further from what our technology is available to us today in an expeditionary form factor, which is a good thing. So a system of systems approach as well helps a little bit with the swarming problem. But really, when it comes down to it, what did it take to engage another airplane in the air in World War II? From World War I into World War II, we finally figured out whether it would be barrage balloons or AAA, it took a full integrated capability, and ultimately it's one airplane fighting another airplane. And so we need to have robots fighting robots, and we need to have that capability in the air. And so we're working towards high power microwave and hardening our own UAVs at the Morpheus project, which allows us to then get out, and you can have an area effect against a swarm of weapons. And then bring that UAV home because we're cheap as the Marine Corps and we'd like our drones back. And we'd like to reuse them. So this project is highly mature. It's moving along very quickly. And then luckily for me, as the Rapid Capabilities Office Director as well, I get to take it out of S&T and then rapidly prototype it to the fleet within the next couple of years. And then make a milestone C decision and just jump and kind of bypass a large chunk of the J6 process. So, what are our challenges? Like I alluded to before with the discussion on in joint non-lethals, you know, we've got significant swap issues: size, weight, and power. Energy is energy. Physics is physics, and we're not getting around, and we're not cheating. DARPA keeps promising me cold fusion, but it's not coming right now. So I gotta continue to work within the confines of the limits of the physics and the technology we have. You know, frankly, the Achilles heel of the Department of Defense is the fact that we're still relying on dead dinosaurs. You know, fossil fuels drive logistics, the ability to move fossil fuels around, and we've got to be looking at a lot of things. So hydrogen fuel cell, alternate means of power as we move forward. You know, there's efforts towards expeditionary nuclear power that is safe, supposedly. There are a slew of different efforts right now to help us understand our expeditionary and forward logistics problems, and then get to a point where we can and provide the power required for these capabilities. Policy, as I said, is a challenge, and that's where Marine Corps has really been focused in a high TRL environment in order to understand our TTPs and get the approvals. And I'm proud to say that we're the first service really to get all of those approvals and have this thing deployed in combat. And then, of course, the social acceptance as we work through the moral and ethical challenges of employing directed energy as we move forward. That's what I've got.
Social acceptance. I mean, like, I don't see how these people say moral and ethical, like in the same breath as there. I mean, I see it because they're hiding all the classified stuff where they're just butchering families, you know, sacrificing families. So maybe, you know, terrorists that they go to war with will be safer when they hit them with these weapons or something, which might be. That is completely unbelievable. My brain cannot even compute that. My brain can't even compute.
Today, I appreciate your time, and I'll open the floor to questions now for a few minutes before the Admiral kicks me off.
He holds that face when they ask him questions. It's kind of weird.
Gave a very interesting section on non-lethal weapons, but in the context of current US defense strategy, which is asking for lethal and lethal, is the actual terminology of non-lethal weapons a hindrance to transitioning into service?
No, not from our perspective as a Marine Corps. I mean, as I said, you know,
yeah. Listen to this. Listen to this.
See the integration of non-lethal and lethal fires is an integral part. Marine Corps does combined arms. That's the beauty of the Marine Corps, right? We've got all the little parts and pieces of the Air Force and the Navy and the Army in a small subset. So we love to integrate things together and have that effect. It's all about effects for us. So if we can bring a non-lethal effect to bear prior to or in concurrence with that lethal effect, we see massive. I mean, that's been the success of the Marine Corps for hundreds of years. So that's how we see it moving forward. And then of course, because we do humanitarian assistance and we're across a full range of military operations, we have to think about those non-lethal capabilities, just like we do kinetics. There's a targeting cycle, non-lethal targeting cycle. There's ROE associated with that, and so I'd say that we're heavily invested in that mindset. Did I answer your question? Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? I got about a minute left. All right.
Oh, could you stop murdering me and my family? Could you stop murdering us and torturing us? That's my question. Could you talk about how you're torturing, non-consensually torturing citizens? And then could you stop? Could y'all be able to stop? Let's see if he answers.
Your time today.
No, his time was up. He didn't answer that question. All right, guys. So I just wanted to show y'all that. It's some really important information. And he just came out and said, you know, they're testing it on human beings to see, you know, how it affects skin and the eyes and other things like that. And that's only one angle, you know, the experimentation. And I'll read some of y'all's chats. Let's see. Autumn says Giordano said TIs will get sick and die. Wow, I didn't hear him say that. I need to see that. Jane Jones says to target individuals because individuals are the enemies, not perpetrators. Just saying the language is telling. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, when they're trying to do full spectrum dominance, enemies aren't just terrorists anymore, and actually they're creating a lot of the terrorists. It's just people in general. Like the public becomes the enemy in full spectrum dominance. You know, it's sad. I mean, very sad. But it's good to get this information out. It's good that they're talking about the unclassified uses of directed energy weapons, so we can get this out to people so they can know that these things exist. And I don't see how anybody would believe. Like, I'll just take my situation. I'm sure a lot of y'all have similar situations where, 2011, I knew I was targeted with something. Then I started looking it up. I had a high pitched ringing in my ears. Burns on, like, I didn't have showing burns, but my skin was red. My attackers made sure to burn the inside of my body. But like, we're experiencing these, we look it up, directed energy weapons, V2K, neuro weapons, we look these things up and we're like, man, I'm getting this high pitched ring sound. My body's being hurt by this, is being heated up by these weapons. And then it's like, now they're talking about, they've been talking about them for a long time. And I just don't see how anybody who is not a target individual like us, how they could just think that's a mental illness when this totally exists and they're totally experimenting on human beings. This guy even said it in the unclassified information. He said they were trying to see how it affects human beings and things like that. And they've been doing that for a long time, like since the 1950s. Yeah, Jane Jones says he seems almost giddy attacking individuals. Yeah, the guy just, he's like, oh, this is exciting, it's good. Presenting, and then they always say, James G. Adorno and this guy, they put moral. We have moral and ethical things. It's a psyop. It's to make sure that people don't panic when they're telling them, hey, like, we have neuro weapons and we have directed energy weapons, and it's meant to hit people, and we're testing them to hit people. But we're taking moral and ethical things into consideration. It's so that people who hear that are like, oh, well, they're not doing anything wrong with them, right? Because people are just so easily conditioned or whatever. Jane Jones, Native Neuropter says, thank you. This is what I've been saying. Yeah. And I saw your comment down here. You said, Native Neuropter says, I want to emphasize that I have seen the directed energy weapon come directly from the military drones flying over me time and time again. Yeah, that's important. Like, I have a drone up in the back of my parking lot. With your protocol, they might just be using drones on you. I don't know, but we do have to remember there's ground radar, over the horizon radar, satellite, microwave tower. There's this whole grid, and drones are a part of that grid. But in your situation, they could be heavily focused on what they can do with those drones on you. That's what I was talking about at the beginning. Different contractors for different for different armed forces under the DoD, right? So if the Navy is contracting out and they want to, or versus is contracting out and they really want to target some individuals with just drones and see how that works, but then it's like me, I have a contract that's maybe under the CIA, and they're doing the whole neuro weapons and behavioral control, and so it's just I'm not saying you might have been contracted from the CIA too, and they're just doing it with drones, but there's just all these different protocols from all these different factions of the military industrial complex these contractors and subcontractors are carrying out. And we just got to keep that in mind. That's why we kind of experience different things. Like, we're all being targeted, but it's differences, and that's why it's hard we can't be like, oh, well, that's exact. Some target individuals, I'm like, that's exactly what's happening to me. Wow, that target individual is going through exactly what I'm going through. But some, I'm like, well, you guys in chat, but there's some targeted individuals where I'm like, it doesn't seem like they're going through excruciating body pain. It seems like their mind's being messed with and they're getting gang stalked. So there's just all these different protocols, and we have to keep it in mind so we don't see somebody who's experiencing a TI that's experiencing something different and be like, oh, well, they're not experiencing what I'm experiencing, so they're a perp or whatever. So Jane Jones says maybe soft kill so we don't have hard kill when the asteroid belt kills us. Duh. Jane Jones says this is whack talk, sick puppy talk. Yeah, these people have been mind controlled. These people have been brainwashed. You know, especially if they're in the military and they're in a system that they're just going to keep going along with. Probably that guy, even if he learned that innocent families are being tortured and you know for their whole lives, he would just he'd be in that system already, and he'd go, no, that's not happening. They're only maybe they're only attacking bad guys or something like that. They're only attacking criminals in society. So people will do whatever they have to do to make their lives easier, even if people are dying and they need to help them. Not everybody, but the majority of the public, they don't want to deal with things. You know, we have lost what our ancestors had of when you're attacked, you fight. Not us, not target individuals. We're fighting, and a lot of people are fighting. But the vast majority of the public of every country is just like, if you give me bread and circuses and me and my family are doing okay, you can kill the family next door and hey, I'll even help you, right? So it's this horrible sickness that's just the opposite of what our founding fathers had. It's the opposite of what our ancestors have had to struggle all throughout history. And so, and this is social conditioning. You know, they want to make the public soft. So that the public, if anything really, really bad does happen, where people have to stand up and it's very dangerous, people will be like, they'll more likely just twist it in their own heads or go along with propaganda, so it's easier for their lives, you know, until it hits them and their family, and then they're going to try and work on it, you know. So it'll keep it to where we're not all rushing these evil things. We need to rush them, right? But a couple people at a time come up, get swatted down. A couple more people come up. But it is growing. You know, it is growing to a point where it's snowballing out, where it doesn't matter. But I've seen with target individuals, they target a group of people, you know, a certain amount of the population. Those people try and do activism, but they get really tired, and then they just try and live their lives. Then the next group that they're targeting, that they start targeting, comes in and tries to fight. And so they fight these smaller groups, or they're taking out and torturing these smaller groups. So everybody can't just all rush them at once, all just act at the same time, because that would actually take it down, you know. Jane Jones says moral and ethical torture against the Geneva Convention. Yeah, and many international laws and just normal laws. You can't torture and murder people. I mean, so it doesn't matter if they're using, they could be using invisible, I don't know, just the most technologically thing that may not even exist, right? Some kind of sci-fi. They can be using any kind of technology that's a million years advanced, and people may not be able to understand it. It's still murder, it's still torture, so it doesn't matter. Torturing somebody with a rock and torturing them with a directed energy weapon system does not matter. It's the torture and the murder that the law is against that. So yeah, Autumn says non-lethal programs, and that's definitely propaganda. They definitely want people thinking in a way. But you heard at the end, he said, you know, well, we're mixing non-lethal weapons with lethal weapons. But you know, in my case, all the stuff that my attackers are doing to me, if it was done for a day, if it was just a day that they did this to me, it'd be non-lethal. It wouldn't be a big deal. But since they do it year after year after year after year after year and encroach with the remote neural, it becomes very, very lethal. It breaks down the cells in our body, DNA, our brain. It hurts our brain tissue, our skin, our eyes, our things like that. So this non-lethal weapon that if it hits you for like a minute and you were able to move out of the beam, yeah, it's non-lethal that way. But like we see, they can make a weapon out of anything. There are a lot of people who are non-lethal. They're very non-lethal people, but you tell them a lie in their community about a targeted individual, and then they become very lethal. They start screwing up people's lives and their own lives. You can make anything a weapon. The military-industrial complex can. I never thought about making humans, you know, turning humans into weapons. So the Drunk Ninja says, "What's the video you're watching?" I put it in the description, Drunk Ninja. It's 2019 Directed Energy Summit, but I put the page that I was on. It's the what's it called? Hold on, let's see. It's called, it's the number 3. It's like at the bottom. You go to the bottom, you see the warfighter and developing technology, and there were 3 presentations. It's number 3, from non-lethal to air defense, the Marine Corps and directed energy. The speaker is Colonel Kevin Murray. So it's the 3rd one. And there's some other presentations. I was looking through the other presentations, and they're much more, I don't want to say boring, but they speak in very, very confined terms, and they speak in generalities. So I didn't find them that useful. I might find some small clips from those. I'm going to look through some other ones because I haven't gone through all the speakers. There might be another presentation that's like that. That's like bombshell, mother of all bombs. The guy is just saying it. He's saying they tested on people. He's saying they need non-lethal, personnel weapons, or, so they're testing them on human beings. There's experimentation being done, and he says this is a mature technology, so there'd have to be experimentation being done for a long time, right? So I mean, it's just complete proof. So Jane Jones says slow fry or fast fry were only victims collateral damage to this. Yeah, like how the guy was saying collateral damage. We don't want collateral damage. But I'm an innocent citizen, right? You guys in chat are innocent citizens. If they just say that's the enemy, that's the we need to, they tell everybody else, DHS Fusion Center and stuff, they know that they're just experimenting on us and torturing us. But then we're not collateral, we're the target. And everybody around, and that doesn't even make sense because then my family started being targeted. So it would have seemed like if I was the target, my family would have been like things that they didn't want to hit. But like we're all collateral damage. I guess that's the bottom line to these people. If you're a specific citizen, if you're just a citizen, whatever you are, a doctor, a soldier, a fireman, or because we see a lot of targeted individuals that, you work for the NSA. If they decide that you're going to be collateral damage, you're going to be collateral damage. And there's no moral and ethical implications. There's no, oh, did this person deserve it? Or do we need to go after them? It's let's make this happen. That's why, like, really watch that new Spider-Man movie as soon as you guys can. The villain in it does the exact same thing. I mean, he does false flags. He tries to look like the hero, but he just kills a bunch of innocent people to look like. I mean, it sucks. It sucks. Jane Judge, let's see. The Drunk Ninja, robots fighting robots. That's World War III. But I don't even think that's going to happen. I think with these neuro weapons and the grid that they have, I don't see it would be just like it'd be futile to have a robot war because I think it's gonna be more of like these grid systems and satellites hitting people, and it's gonna be this unless people wake up, it will be a very covert mind war. It will be this perception war of like, say there's an enemy leader in another country, about hitting him with neuro weapons and making him think whatever our country, if they were against him, wanted him to think, so that he does what we want him to do. And it's going to be the wars aren't going to be these huge things where it's like armies fighting. It's going to be very, very. We're not going to even. We as target individuals kind of see how it looks, right? And nobody can imagine it. Like non-target individuals are having a lot of trouble with this. They're like, you're being hit in your home. What? You're mentally ill, right? That's how war is going to look. It's not going to look like we expect. Just remember that that's an important point, because these people up at the top are like, okay, what do people expect? What do they expect to be the big bad, and how do they expect it to look, right? Like there are a lot of Christians that are like, I'm not taking a chip. They're going to force everybody to take a chip. Well, what the system is really doing is it's just with chemtrails and food and water, they're pumping in nanotechnology that passes the blood-brain barrier, and you're chipped. And so you didn't have to agree or disagree to it. So what people were looking for, right, what the majority of people were looking for, oh, they're going to start coming into they're going to start knocking on our doors with guns and killing us in our homes, or they're going to start putting us in concentration camps, right? No, because that's what we expect. What they're going to do is they're going to kill us in our homes silently. Like I'm being murdered in my home right now. You guys in chat, they're not going to bust down our doors and take us to a concentration camp. They're going to make our concentration camp this virtual, directed energy neural weapon thing. So they're trying to see what people's expectations are, and then they're going to come at it a different way, like the top of the pyramid. They're going to be so people will ignore it. They'll deny it. No, it's supposed to look like the end of the world, right? It's supposed to look. I have my food for 3 weeks, and there's chaos and riots and stuff like that, and there's wars going on. We know that people are dying, right? Like, I mean, this is what I'm saying. Some normal people who maybe aren't targeted think, like where they would see people dying on TV, and it would be very blatant, like the war and the bad stuff. But the people at the top are like, we're going to do it in such a way where we can take out this percentage of the population, then we'll take out this percentage of the population, then we'll take out this percentage of the population. Before long, nobody will be left to gather up and fight and do all this stuff. I mean, it's very planned out. These guys are so evil. Jane, let's see. Jane Jones says Morpheus, so reality is fake. Yeah. Well, it's a reality by consensus where they can't actually change reality, but if you can get a whole lot of people thinking the wrong thing, it basically does. It basically does. It does change. Like, I mean, people in my community hate me. I haven't done anything, but they think I'm a criminal because a bunch of lies are told, and it's reality by consensus. Does that change the fact that that I haven't done anything wrong, and that I am being hit with these directed energy weapons? And it doesn't change that, but it changes it in the minds of all those people that have been lied to, right? So the people at the top of the pyramid think that that's just as good as reality. They think that if a bunch of people believe something, it doesn't matter what the reality is, because those people are going to act on a false reality. That's what they want us all doing. They want us acting on a false reality, and therefore our actions will be ineffectual and inefficient. If we're not acting with the right knowledge, we can't fight. So Carrie Mary says, hi, is it wise to sue my family for child abuse? My brother got me involved with this targeted program too. He is ex-UK Army, unless I may just get more targeted program effects. I don't know, Carrie Mary. Maybe some other people in chat, maybe, email me. Maybe you can call me if you email me, and we can talk about that. I don't know, because you have to prove it. You'd have to prove that your family is involved. But I'm going to be working. I'm going to be working on getting a lawyer, trying to find a doctor. I've been working on this along the way, but I'm going to really try and make some headway with it. What I'm thinking is, if you got a surgery in your life, you need to look at that hospital you went to. You need to try and get your medical records, because there's a good chance you got a non-consensual implant if you had a big surgery, and then the contractor who's doing this to you is connected to that hospital, depending on that. So there's a good chance that now maybe that's not what happened, but what I'm thinking is we've got to sue. Like, I would sue the hospital that put the implant in me, and then like the DOD, because the DOD gave money to the contractor who was connected to the hospital, right? So I would sue them, and then I would sue the contractor. A lot of targeted individuals are saying we need to sue the weapons manufacturers. I don't know about suing your family because I don't know. I'll think about that more. I'll think about that more. But I think the deal is we've got to sue the people who had, put a non-consensual implant in us, or are actually doing this to us. So we've got to find the contractor that's doing it to us, and then you can sue both the DOD and that contractor and the hospital. Now there could be some different situations where somebody didn't have a hospital involved, right? And it was just a contractor. Maybe they made somebody mad at a business that fired them, and then a certain contractor that was connected with the leadership of that business got them targeted. Then they would have to sue that contractor and whoever contracted them, right? But finding that out with concrete, that's the hard thing. So I think that's who we want to see. And a lot of, Dr. Horton's trying to do court cases. A lot of people are trying to do court cases. I think a lot of people are having trouble finding lawyers, that have enough courage to take this on, and think that it could be successful, right? But you guys, look at, okay, so for that question, look at Richard Kane. Look him up on YouTube. Look him up on Google. Go to oh, I can't remember. StopGangStalkingCrimes.com. Go to StopGangStalkingCrimes.com. It's Terry's website, and if you go to his links and documents, he has some Richard Kane court documents. I think the affidavit that Richard Kane wrote, and it shows all the people that Richard Kane brought suit against for non-consensually implanting him and his 2 sons and then attacking them, right? I don't know what happened with the case. I know that he brought the case to court. Some people say that he got a settlement and a gag order, and then he kind of walked away from it all. I don't know if he did that and they stopped targeting him, or I don't know if he didn't win the case. I don't know if he got the settlement and the gag order and did stop getting targeted. I don't know. I don't know how. I hear a lot of different things about that one, but that's a case where it's like the most targeted individuals who have said like, oh, somebody won a case. They talk about that case. So we've got to look at that. We got to look at that. And you sued the DOD, sued President Obama, sued the hospital that put the non-consensual implants into him and his sons. And then I don't think he knew the contractor. I don't think he knew the contractor that was doing it to him. But with the contract with the hospital and the DOD, it was like enough to bring the suit, right? And so I that's why I was trying to get my my medical records from Ochsner, but they're gone because they were from like 1990. I was born in 1981, and 1993 was when I went to Ochsner, and they said they don't have those anymore. So Jane Jones says, when exactly in time do we become as individuals the PIN target, a secret secret operation without Congress approval? Well, yeah, and I don't think this does have Congress approval. I think that they, just like this directed energy caucus, and we need to talk to those guys in the directed energy caucus. We need to be sending them letters. The Democratic senator from New Mexico and the Democratic senator from Ohio. I'm not sure which ones. I'll get their names, but they write report. They're in a directed energy caucus. They bring information to the Senate Armed Services Committee, but they're only bringing them unclassified information about what is being done with directed energy weapons. I really do not think. I think maybe some of those guys in directed energy caucus who are very close with these contractors and maybe know that they're experimenting on people. Yeah, there's that. But I think the majority of Congress who just gets these reports, they're not told that they're experimenting on people, yet they still funnel money into these programs, and it's funneled into the classified research, which is our torture too. But they're getting money from, these programs are getting money from the Federal Reserve. They're getting money from huge black budgets. There's other ways that they're just creating money to do this. And they're also getting consumer private investors, right? Because it's military industrial. So you got Google and Facebook and stuff investing through DARPA. DARPA has people that work for DARPA and work for Google. So you have Google who's investing highly in all these advancements, investing in these contractors that are doing this. You got big businesses, private businesses investing in private military operations that are experimenting on human beings that cover themselves up and act like they're private businesses. This is the world. I mean, it's like the most corruption. It's like the mafia, a high-tech mafia is taking over. And we all know this. Like, we all know this. It's just hard for the average person to believe who's not being hardcore targeted. But everything is very, very corrupt. It's an anarcho-tyrannism. It's like we can't do anything. We can't even live, normal people. But if you're up at a high enough level, you have a certain enough clearance, or you work for a certain business, you can murder and rape people and experiment on them and say it's for the greater good, whatever you need to do. And if you're deemed a target, if those big powers deem you a target or a threat or whatever, or just want to experiment on you, you have no more rights to even live You know, it's evil. It's evil. But within that, see, they mix it in because there are good guys. They're good contractors. My cousin used to work for Halliburton. Now he works for a subcontractor under Halliburton. They build stuff. They build like buildings and stuff like that. So there's all this normal stuff going on with contractors, but then there's like these little compartments inside contractors that are doing really, really evil stuff. So some of these people that work for some of these contractors don't even know what's going on. Like I think that I'm being targeted by Arcadis, but like in the whole like say Arcadis is like this, it's an international contractor. A lot of people who work for Arcadis, who maybe take the phone calls or build weapons and stuff, they may not even know what it's being used for. They may not even know that they're researching and torturing human beings. It's kept compartmentalized. You know, I question how many people that are doing presentations there on directed energy now, like the top dogs, like the Joint Chiefs of Staff, directed energy weapon. I don't know what they're called, but the guy like in the Pentagon who's like the leader of the directed energy weapon programs, he knows. He knows that they're using this on human beings. There's a lot of them that really know, but how many of them? How many of them that are working on other programs for putting lasers on warships and you know, putting, you know, doing that kind of stuff? How many of them know that they're torturing, experimenting on human beings? I think it would be an easy thing to know, right? Like, hey, they're directed energy weapons. Oh, there's all these people claiming to be targeted by them. But I think a lot of these people do a hard denial. They're like, no way can that, and they'll even work for those companies. I don't know. Because of how insane our society is, you know, people are going insane. Yeah, I mean, in like we're holding steady as targeted individuals, but people who are not targeted individuals, they're going crazy, and they don't know how to think about things. The ones that aren't killing us. So it's very tough. It's very tough. Everybody's in a different reality in their head, you know. Jane Jones says, has the military become a rogue nation? I think so. Yeah, I think they've gone rogue, but I think they have so much money and support, and the government works for them. Our government works for them. Our government listens to them. Our government doesn't talk about whatever they say is national security. Whatever the military-industrial complex says, you can't talk about it, government, so don't talk about it. They don't talk about it. Whatever the military-industrial complex tells the media not to talk about, they don't talk about it. So yeah, they're rogue, they're evil, they're murdering people in a lottery system, torturing them, experimenting on people in a lottery system, murdering families, but they got all the power, right? So yeah, I mean, they're evil and they're criminals, but in a system where they have all the money and the technology and they rule in our countries. The military industrial complex is not our president. He barely has any power. He has a very, very symbolic power. Our president does. So I don't know what that means. I mean, I guess that means that we're really led by a mafia that will kill your family at any time. And if you're not being killed, I guess you can be happy, but they may pick you sooner or later. I mean, that's how I see it, because I didn't do anything wrong. And it was just because I had a surgery when I was 12. That's why I got put into this. Carrie Mary says, well, the drunk ninja says, because it's not happening to them, that's why they don't understand and believe. Yep. Really has to happen to you for you to understand, because it's so complex. It's so weird. Like, I listen to myself talk about what the neuro weapons are doing to me, and the optics on it are horrible. Like, what people who are not targeted are thinking about me, I can't imagine. But it's true, so it doesn't matter. We've got to get into that perception. There's a reality in this world, and doing the right thing is the only way to go in all this. Doing the right thing and saying the right thing, like saying the truth, is the only way to have a chance at this. And like, sometimes we've got to trust in God, and this is a huge corruption all over the globe. And maybe it's just human beings' time to destroy ourselves. I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, maybe it's just like, if people are this evil and they have all this technology and all this good stuff to make the human race evolve in such a better way, but they're trying to destroy it, like, maybe we don't need to be around. That's a very not positive thought. I think sometimes it crosses my mind that maybe we just shouldn't even be around. we don't create balance with our environment. You know, it seems like we're very, like, animals create balance with their environment. There are a lot of, you know, and so what made us so strange, you know, there's a lot of good in human beings too. Like, I'm a good human being. All you guys in chat are good human beings. People, you know, target individuals that I meet, just a lot of people that I meet are really good human beings. So if we can get it back, if people could start using their voice and really saying no to this stuff. It's what Bill Cooper said was the most important thing to do. You have to say no. It has to be a lot of people not participating, not complying, saying no. And that's really a power. It's a powerful tool that people don't understand is very powerful, because why would they be hiding these weapons programs if they didn't care what people said, right? Because if these were out, like if these were not classified, they were torturing people, there'd be people out in the streets. They'd know it for sure that people are being tortured. Maybe some of them, like, are people being tortured, but they can't act on that. They can't act on maybe this is happening. If they knew it for sure, people would be saying no. They'd be calling their Senate. Like, it'd be not just target individuals, but you know, the populations of all these different countries would be, there'd be news. They'd force the news to do it because there'd be so many people saying no, and they couldn't get away with it. So we have to ask why. Why are they hiding this? They're hiding it because and why do we need to get awareness out, right? Because if it's so important for them to hide this stuff, if we get awareness out and let people know, that's a powerful, powerful weapon for all those people to say no. Then judges start getting pressured into making the right choices about what to do. Policemen start getting pressured by the public to do the right thing. Right now, they're not pressured. They can do whatever they want. They can, you know, do corrupt things, and they can get away with it, and they're supported, and they're paid to do it, and you know, it's all good. And the general public won't even know what's going on, right? But when the general public does, and they can pressure the media, judges, police, politicians to do the right thing, and if they don't, they know they're evil, and they will not vote those people back in. They'll harass them in the right ways. Then people will start being forced to do it. And I think it's our only weapon, awareness. Not our only weapon. I think it's a very important weapon, though, because we can't, like, at this time, we cannot, or we take to the streets. We take to the streets in nonviolent protest. We can't. There's no militia is going to be able to go up against the military might of these military industrial complexes. We're not going to be able to stage like a revolution like our founding fathers did, or like our you know, the war for independence. It can't be like that. We would just lose. So we're going to have to use awareness and public opinion and things like that, and really force people in that way. Because there's still a lot of great people in the world, and they don't like people being experimented on and stuff. But when it's out of sight, it's out of mind, right? Out of sight, out of mind. Remember that. Out of sight, out of mind. That's when you just keep putting something in somebody's face. Just keep putting it in their face. Keep putting it in their face. So it's not out of mind. It's not out of sight. So it won't be out of mind. There's a lot of tools that we've still got to come up with, because this is such a new problem. But that, y'all see me. I make these videos. All the TIs that are making videos, it's good. Even if you're getting some things wrong, it doesn't matter. It's just talking about this. Robert Duncan was asked, let me tell you guys, Robert Duncan was asked by somebody. They said, what can we do about this? What's the number one thing we should be doing about this? And he said, keep talking about it. Keep talking about it. So many things have been hidden throughout history. People keep talking about them, keep talking about them. Court cases, testimonies, you know, talking to senators, doing all this other stuff, rallies and protests and things like that. And they eventually come to light, and then they have to stop. You know, the evil stuff that they're doing has to stop, because people know they won't let them continue with that. But the deal is, it's like society is so different than it was like in the like when MK Ultra came out. I think that was in the when it all came out. Was that the 1990s or 1980s when the testimonies were going on and stuff like that? And people, you know, nobody went to jail, right? But it did, and it didn't even stop. It just turned into this. I don't know. It's very complicated. We do just have to keep talking about, because that's the biggest probability of things going right for us, of us getting help, you know, because I was thinking about it today, and I was like, man, I need to go to a doctor. Like, I need medical help because my attackers are like crushing my cheek. like they're inflaming my vagus nerve through my face and just giving me these massive I really need to go to a doctor, but I'm like, man, I can't get help from a doctor. But the more awareness we get out, like the more that we soften this up, then we will be able to go to a doctor and maybe tell them about this, and they would maybe not blow the whole thing wide open, right, and write us a letter saying that we're targeted and bring in police in there to help us, but they might help. They might give you something and be like, hey, I understand this is going on. Just like, you know, like in Nazi Germany, when the Jews, you know, the Nazis were like coming and trying to take the Jews to concentration camps, and some people hid them in their homes. They helped them because they knew it was wrong, right? We have that some, and it's gonna be getting more and more. People don't come out and like speak about this, but they'll help us. They'll be like, yeah, I know that's happening. I'll try and help you in any way that I can. I get that from my psychiatrist. I get that from some of my doctors. Well, I don't have a general practitioner. I got to go find a general practitioner. But some people in my life, they do that. They're not going to crack this wide open or whatever, but they understand it's happening. They want to help me in any way that they can possibly. We got to get to that point, and then we'll get through that point. More people know, and then who knows what's going to happen. How it's going to go, I don't know. But what we have to do is simple. You know, our best. I really think, you know, in Hong Kong, that huge, everybody went out there, right? Everybody went out in the streets, hundreds of thousands of people, and it's probably going to make a huge difference. If we could do that in America, like the yellow vests or the people in Hong Kong, I'd say it would make a huge difference. But with targeted individuals, so many of us are hurting so bad, it's hard to just go out and get groceries. But we got something that the TI rally is coming up, which is going to be huge. If we can capitalize on that, not just have the rallies and be like, oh, well, that was fun and some people saw it, but get video of it, get video of all that, and then pump it out. Show how many people, show people on YouTube and other social media platforms how many people went to that rally, and then other alternative news sources, because a lot of those people in alternative news are targeted and they don't say anything. They don't say anything. They talk about all the other corruption, but they won't talk about this because it's just too embarrassing. They maybe can't get as many subscribers, or I don't know why. This is the biggest problem that we have. You know, satanically ritually killing of children is also like in the priority running, but children are also being experimented on with these weapons. And the number one thing with these weapons is that they're messing up people's minds, like teenagers who go out and do shootings and stuff like that. People who really want to do good are neutralized, so they can't do good for their community. We have to release that pressure valve of people manipulating the mind and torturing people secretly to be able to handle all the other problems, right? So I do see directed energy weapons being used secretly and neuro weapons torturing people. I see it as the number one priority for the human race right now. Because if we could head that off at the pass and people know that that exists, they'll be like, what else are they lying about? And if we can get them to stop using them in these ways and be able to detect them more, it's like people can have their minds back to figure out all the other problems, right? When you add directed energy weapons and neuro weapons into all the problems that are going on in the world, and that could have been involved in Isaac Cappy's death. That could be involved in the case of Julian Assange. Oh, Nicholas Cruz shoots up a school. This issue. We don't know if neuro weapons were involved. So it makes it just completely confused. We have to understand that's what the top wants. The top of the pyramid and people working with them throughout, maybe with different compartmentalized knowledge, they want all of our knowledge to be wrong. They want us all to be confused. They want us all to have the wrong knowledge to act on so that they can control us and manipulate us. They are bringing in this thing where they want everybody who's just a regular person to not know what's going on, to be so confused so that they can't do any kind of actions that are going to help anything. They want to destroy. I mean, they want to kill, steal, and destroy, like Satan. The top of the pyramid, I would say that's Satan. I mean, the people have Satan in their hearts, you know, on the top of the pyramid. All right, guys, I'm going too long. I just wanted to make this short because it's such important information. But I'll do another live stream soon. I love you guys. Jane Jones says probable deniability, a feature of the secret societies. That's right. And hey, Eric, Drunk Ninja says, LOL, doctor might just throw you in the crazy house. Yeah. I've got to find a general practice. Like, I've gone to my psychiatrist and I've been putting it off going to a doctor. Like, Brian too goes to doctors all the time, but he doesn't get help. And so, like, I went to doctors at the beginning, and they, like, I think one doctor at the beginning gave me painkillers. Okay, it helped me for a couple of days, right? Helped me for a couple of days, but then I found kratom and stuff like that I can maintain. If I go into a doctor and he's just gonna not help me, then why even go? I mean, do I want that? I guess I could record how many times I went to the hospital. I guess maybe that I may, but it's too expensive. It's too expensive to just go to the hospital and get no help, and maybe have the chance of them putting me in a mental place, which they can't, because I have a psychiatrist. Because I have my psychiatrist, they can't do that to me. But it seems like an awful lot of money to spend to maybe just have that on documented that you went to a doctor. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to have, I want to find a neurologist. I'm going to work with the University of Pennsylvania. I'm going to send my stuff to them. I'm going to see if we can get help from them. And I'm going to see if maybe targeted individuals can send in some of their documentation or something to the University of Pennsylvania. I'm really going to be working hard on that. There's tons of stuff, guys. Like, there's tons of stuff that I want to do, that I'm trying to do, but it's really hard. I'm hitting walls, I think we all are. But we just got to keep going, It'll get easier and easier as the awareness comes out and people are like, oh, wow, that really is happening. They'll be more likely to help us. And the people who are running these programs will be like, oh, the cat's out of the bag and everybody kind of knows about it. All right, well, maybe they would pull off and be like, okay, well, it's time to kind of shut this down. We're going to get caught. And then we could really get help. And then they can, like, if everybody's helping us and there's so many people targeted, they can't kill us all, right? So I don't know. And I'm just talking. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I'm working on, but it's a process. It's definitely a process, man. Jane Jones says, if the Pentagon approves the attack on citizens, does this mean World War I and World War II also an experiment? I don't know. I know that after World War II, they started having the rules of experimentation on any citizen. If it had to do with national security, they can experiment on any citizen. And that rule was made after World War II. I don't know. I don't know what it would be considered. I mean, the Pentagon does approve our torture. The Pentagon's at the top of it. And they do approve what's happening to our families. They are justifying it. The Pentagon knows. The Pentagon knows, and the head of the Directed Energy Weapon Program that advises the Pentagon, James Giordano, that advises the Joint Chiefs of Staff on neurotechnology, neuroweapons. He knows, they know, and they're justifying it. The different reasons they're justifying it for are different for different layers of the pyramid. You may have one layer of the pyramid that's like, oh, we got it, Russia and China, right? And a lot of these presentations were like, China is getting really good at this. We got to do this stuff. Some of the layers are like people who are like, well, China's going to get ahead of us, so we have to kill these families. We have to test it out on these families so we can protect the larger portion of society, right? But then the higher up levels know that there's cooperation between these countries and that they're all pretty much at the same level. They just use that scare tactic to get people like my attackers thinking that it's, oh, we got to make this sacrifice. And it's not their sacrifice. They're making money from it and doing good. So they're not going to sacrifice themselves. They're going to sacrifice me and my innocent family and you guys. And that's called cowardice. It's worse than cowardice. We need new words for how evil and crappy these people are. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down tonight. Let's see. Drunk Ninja says the end goal for the war is a one world government. Facts. Yep. I agree. They want to destroy countries. They want to destroy our country. They want to destroy other countries' infrastructure, tear it down, but still have the buildings and still have the people and stuff like that, but really mess things up so that they can do whatever they want with those countries and make them into a one world order. That is the plan. A lot of people, though, watch. You guys check out Laura Eisenhower and tell me what y'all think. Some of the things she says, I don't agree with her. I think she's maybe making stuff up, but some of the things she says are very crucial about. And I forgot, but check out Laura Eisenhower on Edge of Wonder. She says some things. It's like she says some things about I don't want to go into it all right now because I've been going. So, Drunk Ninja says go for free pain meds. Where can you get free pain meds? Drunk Ninja says Trump won't know unless he asks. Matter of national security. Yep. Yeah. All right. Future Knowledge says good night, everyone. Love you all. I love you guys too. And I'll do another live stream soon. Yeah, I want to kind of wrap this up because it's important information. I've already kind of gone too long, but I love you guys. Stay in the fight. You know, stay strong. Watch that Spider-Man movie because I'm starting to question. I think there's a lot of artists and movie makers and things that they might be going the other way and trying to get out good propaganda to wake people up. Y'all tell me what y'all think. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe it's just revelation of the method for evil people. But the bad guy had all these traits that we're talking about, deception and stuff. There's some stuff happening. I think there's stuff happening on the evil side that's been going on for a long time, but I really think good is waking up, that people are seeing all this bad, and even some people in the system, and they're doing some things. So I question the alliance a lot. I don't know. It could be a psyop to give people false hope, but I know because I'm a good person. Y'all are good people. So there have to be some good people within the system who are trying to make some moves, you know. We'll see as we move forward. You know, we're definitely getting somewhere. We're definitely getting somewhere. So know that. And hang tight, guys. Just hang tight and stay strong. I love y'all. God bless you. God bless your families. God keep you strong, give you strength to get through this. And I'll see you guys on the next one.